Hey YouTubers. So today I want to talk about this story time I ran across on TikTok where a woman explains how her best friend almost unalived her. So as I do it all my videos, let's watch it together.
The night I almost died. All right, my homeboy called me. I had been hearing the rumors about what was going on. I supposed to have something to do with my boyfriend's death that got killed at my house. So we are from the hood. So of course everything that's said is gonna come back to me. All right. So they were talking about, I guess they had, came up with them a plan or a plot or whatever. So anyway, I get a call from my homeboy, and he tell me, Tiff, come ride with me. So I tell my homegirl, I'm living with her at the time. I tell her, hey, such and such just called me. He like, come ride with me. So she begged me not to go. And the reason why she begged me not to go is because she heard the same rumors that I heard. They were plotting to kill me. Well, me being me, I'm not easily influenced, and I'm not easily scared or bullied. So this particular homeboy, I know. I know what type of dude he is. He's stepping on shit. And if you know what that means, you know what I'm talking about. So, that was one of our neighborhood's main stepdos. And I needed to address this rumor head on. So I decided, no, I'm going to go. She begged me not to go because she knew that they were talking about they were going to kill me. So I tell him, anyway, pull up. He pull up to pick me up. I go outside, I get in the car. As I get in the car, we pull off, and I look up at her, and she just stand on the porch and she watching us pull off like it was the last time she'll see me. And that kind of did something to my spirit because I really know my homegirl was scared for me. We rolled off. And as we rolled off, we went up the one way, we made a right, and we got on the freeway. And we headed towards Riceville. Well, as we proceeded on, my homeboy started crying and uncontrollably crying. And he was listening to the music. And I'll never forget this day because 2 weeks later, I never saw my homeboy again. He was murdered. But he was crying and the music was bumping so loud. And I'm watching him, but I'm scared at the same time that I'm feeling like I'm gonna have to smoke this nigga. You know. So, as we riding up the freeway and he's bumping his music, now we're approaching the exit. And as we get close to the exit, he turns into the cemetery. So I'm noticing where we're going in the cemetery we're going to. And I've heard the rumors that I had something to do with my boyfriend being murdered. So we turn into the cemetery. And as we approach my boyfriend's grave, he's crying and he's slowing down and he's looking at me. And while he's doing that, I'm clutching the whole time. Because at this moment, I don't know if I'm going to have to take a man's life or is he going to take mine. So once we made it to the grave site, he pulled over. And when he pulled over, he cut the music down and he looked at me and he said, Tiff, I'm sorry. Part two of the day my homeboy was gonna kill me. So we were at the graveyard, and as I was saying, he was just crying and crying, and I started turning because I'm like, sorry, what do you got going on? Like I guess this it. This so now at this point in my mind, I don't know if he's sorry for what he's about to do. Does this sorry mean I'm gonna have to shoot you? I look up and I started adjusting my body towards him. And I kind of turned towards in the seat and I'm clutching under my shirt. I don't know if I'm about to be stretched out on the side of my boyfriend at his grave. Y'all gotta know that this dude is like, can I trust you? Or are you just telling me this? And he said, but we didn't tell you the whole story. Okay, so what was the whole story that led up to it? He was like, that night that the city went black. And I was like, yeah. And at this point now, I don't want to hear, I'm sorry again. I wanted to hear what he has to say. Because keep in mind, I've been getting accused. I've been dealing with the ops. And I'm dealing with my homeboys want to kill me. Like, so he tell me, we parked the car in your driveway. Putting it in my mind, like, are you telling me what I think you telling me? And he like, and I want to apologize. And I want to tell you, I'm sorry, because I was one of those ones that was accusing you of having something to do with it when I knew what actually went on that night. He said, yeah, but I'm not gonna lie. I know you used to talk to dude too. So I still was thinking in my mind, like, yeah, this bitch got something to do with it. So now I'm confused. Like, nigga, do you think I did it or do you not think I did it? More stories to come. Check us out on Street Mothers Podcast with me, your host, Tiffany Jackson. He look over at me and he tell me, step out the car for a second. And I'm kind of like, what am I stepping out the car for? Especially if he already apologized and he's saying, but then in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, but in the same breath, he told me that he know I used to talk to the dude and that kind of didn't, he was wondering about that. So now I'm back to what I was thinking at first. Oh Lord, here we go. So anyway, I'm like, okay. So I get out the car. Now where we're parked directly in front of my boyfriend's grave. So when we step out the car, we're at the grave. There's a tree. And he asked me, he walked towards the tree and he said, come over here. Now I'm wondering, why am I walking towards this tree? So I'm like, okay. So I walks towards the tree anyway. Got my stuff on my waistband, and I'm like, all right. So I walk towards the tree. And he looked over at me and he was like, it's a lot going on. It's been a lot going on this year. And, he don't really know how long he gonna be here or if he'll be free. And he just started looking down at the grave. So at that very moment, like, bro, I love you. And so he was like, I love you too, sis. And that really kind of like did something to my heart and my spirit, because it was kind of in the same sense of vindication. Like, not that I needed his approval, but it was the fact that at that moment he was vulnerable about everything that had been going on. Every month we lost somebody. So, it was a lot that came along with it. After we were standing there, we just talked about everything. And, at the end of, our conversation, we got in the car and we started driving back to Little Rock. Once we made it back to Little Rock, he pulled me up to my location where I was getting dropped off at. When I got out the car, I turned around and I looked at him. And he had the saddest look on his face. And I don't really know if it was disappointment because I'm still here and he couldn't bring himself to do whatever his plan that he was going to do, or was it really what we discussed at that grave? And I reflect on everything that went on, and I think about how he said he don't know how much longer he'll be here. And he was right, because 2 weeks after that, he was also killed. And people wonder, do I consider myself as a role model? I do not. But what I do consider myself is a person that can also overcome being a product of their environment. I started out as one, and I wasn't going to end it that way. And I hate going down memory lane, but y'all gotta recognize this. Y'all, I'm at home today. It's Sunday. I'm chilling. But I'm going to go ahead and give y'all this story, because this is a story that is near and dear to my heart. And I feel like our neighborhood had been turned. Like I said, we was banging. We was warring back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Some of our homies dropping, some of their homies dropping, but it was a big war. So the day before, we had all been hanging out. One of my homegirls, she was pregnant. So her and her dude had got into it. She went to the hospital. I went home and I cooked because I had to be at work the next morning. Never forget what I cooked. I cooked steak, I cooked shrimp, and I cooked baked potato because that was his favorite. And that's all I knew how to cook at that time. I kept a job back then. I wasn't a felon. I got up and went to work every day, had a good job. We go to bed, we sleep. Boom, 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 boom. We get knocked at the door. It's a couple of the homies. So I get up. My dude still asleep. I don't wake him up. I get up and I open the door for him. So they come over. They like, where he at. So I'm thinking they finna tell him to come and go with them. But the whole time they did. They just want to holler at him. So anyway, they hollered at him or whatever. So I go on and go to bed. I lay down, wake up the next morning, get ready to go to work. Now, I talk to my dude all the time at work. I was working. I can't remember I was working at the law firm or the insurance company, but I was working at one of them, either Wilson and Associates or Standard Insurance. So, okay, so I'm at work or whatever. And I talked to him. We talking, we chopping it up. So he tell me that he finna go to the hospital. Cause remember, I said my homegirl was having a baby. He's waiting on one of our other homegirls to pick him up. Now he goes outside. So as he's standing on the porch, so my relative used to take me back and forth to work every morning because my car was in the shop. When I walked out the door, I noticed the car in the driveway. Didn't think anything of it because I see that car all the time. After we talked, he told me he was gonna call me back. The reason why he was gonna call me back because he was getting ready to leave with our homegirl. Call, but the call never came. It approached time for me to get off of work. Now I'm realizing, my cousin not here, and usually she here by this time. Usually when I walk out this door from work, she's already out there. So I call her. Where they're saying somebody is laying in your yard shot. But I asked her, I'm like, well, how would you know that? My uncle at the time was working for the Little Rock Police Department, and he knew that that was my house. Y'all, I didn't think it was him because I literally had just talked to him a little while before the shot. And first thing come to my mind is, it got to be the Crips. So I'm like, okay, it's probably the Crips. You know what I'm saying? We're staying across the street from some Crips. So I'm thinking it's some stuff that they got going on. But the Crips that stay across the street from us is my homeboys. So anyway, I'm thinking that, they got something going on. So I'm still not thinking it's, nothing about my dude. So I called my other homegirl from John Barrow. She picked me up and we go to my house. Before we can even make it to my house, the street was blocked off from way up the street, taped off, and news reporters. The yard was packed. You seen the homies out. You seen his family out. You seen my family out. I jumped out the car and I just took off full speed. And when I ran in my yard, the first words that I remember hearing is somebody saying, "He gone." And I was kind of like really in and out of it. It was just like a faint voice in the background. I'm sitting up trying to process everything. The first thing I want to know is what happened. My homegirl do tell me that by the time she made it there, he was already gone. And she wasn't but about 6 or 7 minutes away from him. My head is to get up and start looking for my strap. It was gone. So when the detective walked in the house, I'm like, hey, did y'all find anything or whatever? And he gonna come on out and say, what you talking about? A gun? No, that ain't what I'm talking about. But they let me know, okay, he had the strap on. So I'm thinking in my head, why you didn't get back off on these dudes? You know what I'm saying? Why you didn't get back off on these dudes? I still don't know the story about how it went on. All I know is that they saying that some dudes came through. We go over next door. The people that stay over there, they from Louisiana, they from Shreveport. So they just had moved there. They first day in Little Rock was the day she saw my dude gets smoked. And I holler at her and I'm asking her, I'm like, hey, what happened? Can you describe the dudes? What did you see? So the detective, he talking to somebody else, but I'm doing my own investigation. So I asked her, she tell me, she like, yeah, I seen two dudes. She said they rolled down the street, they parked in the back in that alley. She said they jumped out from that alley and ran on the side of the house, and he was standing on the porch, so he never saw them until they got up on him, which explains how he didn't get off. I'm having all type of emotions at this time, and I'm still trying to figure out who is these dudes. I kind of got an idea because I know who we warring with. Now, this put the icing on the cake to let me know exactly who it was. She gave me a description. I get on the phone. First thing I do is I try to hit up the dude that I used to talk to, because keep in mind, he one of them top dogs in his hood, which is the hood that we, banging with. So I hit him up. No answer. So I'm knowing at this time he had something to do with this. And the reason why I knew that he had something to do with this is because that dude, anytime I have ever called him, he never not responded. So I'm mad. I'm mad at this point. So I call him back. No answer. So I said, okay, yeah, he know what time it is. The next day I woke up. It was something different with I'm angry, I won't eat. That side of the family had been told a lie. That's why I could kind of understand where people was going with it, but they didn't know the back story to it, and they ran with it. But that's what people do when somebody passed. Now I'm heated because I'm going through this. You starting this biz, and I want to find this nigga.